So this is my brief explanation of what a response curve is based on my understanding. As you can see, there's a graph. Right here is the x-axis that shows the amplitude in percentage. And then here is the y-axis that shows the frequency expressed in hertz. Now, the waves that are being shown here are the filters being used. We have the low frequencies and we have the high frequencies. As we all know, high frequencies only affects the faster frequencies, and the low filters only affect the slower frequencies. So I believe it's very important for a technologist or anybody who's reading and interpreting the EEG to understand how the filters affect the amplitude of the waves that are being shown on the monitor, because it could either help you get a good reading or it could um, prevent you from seeing what you need to see, like the patterns and the discharges and the waves. So what are the reasons why we have to adjust filters? There are some procedures that require a technologist to adjust the high filter and low filter settings, such as the SPECT, WADA. We also adjust the low filter and high filter settings depending on the artifacts being shown on the EEG monitor. Like if the most of the time, if the patient is tensed and has a lot of myogenic artifacts or muscle artifacts, we can use the 60-notch filter or even adjust the high filter to 35. And that would help us see better the waves and the discharges and the patterns that we are looking for. So how do we use this response curve? So for example, I am going to use, let me see, I am going to use a 5 low filter on a 5 hertz. So all we have to do is look for the 5 hertz right here and then keep going up until it reaches the point where it meets the 5 low frequency right here. So as you can see, based on this graph, if we use the 5 low frequency filter on a 5 hertz, that will tell us that it will adjust the amplitude, or it will adjust the amplitude to 80%. That means we will only be seeing 80% of the wave, or in other words, it will attenuate 20% of the wave. So filters don't affect the width of the frequencies, but it changes the height. So that's what it does. Now let's have another example. What if I use a 5 low frequency filter on a 2 hertz? So if I'm gonna go and look at this number 2 right here and keep going up until we see the point where it meets the wave or the 5 low frequency filter. And then let's see, when we go to the left, we'll see how much percentage we will get. It's in between 30 to 40%. So that means by using the 5 low frequency filter on a 2 hertz, we will be seeing what probably 30% of the amplitude, and it will attenuate probably 60% of the amplitude right here. So that's how we use a frequency response curve right here, this graph. So there are some instances, like probably by experience, we will know what kind of filters that we need to use depending on what we want to see. So for example, we would like to use the low frequency filter 3 if we want to see if we're looking for absent seizures, or slow wave, delta waves, or encephalopathy. And then of course, to get rid of high frequencies like muscle artifacts, we will have to adjust the high filter down to, usually in our department we move it from 70 to 35 if the patient's muscles are very tense and it's preventing us to see clearer waves and discharges on the patient's EEG.